summer long. Hello. How is everyone? I'm using my iPad today, so it's a little weird. Let me see if I can get it to stand. There we go. Oh boy. Okay. I'm at the supermarket watching this. That's awesome. I am scrolling back up because my comments stopped loading, and then a bunch of them loaded. Relaxed your day off. Awesome. Enjoy it. I've been good. Traveled a bit. Got back to Chicago. Everything's been fine. It's not that cold anymore, which is good. Migraine, oh my gosh. I hate migraines. Stella's not in Chicago. Stella stays in Los Angeles. She doesn't like the cold. Let's start with this. Hold on, let me grab my book. So, Tessa's in Los Angeles as well. So, today we were talking about the entirety of the book, The Power of Habit, and what we thought. We finished it, I hope. Everyone finished? Started practice, we're learning this book. Good habits. Good! I agree. If you want, I can give you my 2 cents about this book, and then we can continue from there. I enjoyed this book. I thought it was very important. I thought it was a very good read for us to have moving into the new year. I will admit, I think at about this part of the book is like repetitive. Yeah? Like, did anyone else feel that, like, after about 100 or 200 pages, we're like, okay? We're still going to keep talking about, okay, all right, it's okay now. I think it was an awesome read. I think it was super important, and I think, very repetitive, but I think it was a very important thing for us to get through in the beginning of the year, because I will admit I've reanalyzed my habits, and it's been good. I mean, I like what I've been doing so far. I mean, I've been able to instill certain things, and I hope I continue to do that so that they become a habit, and they're not just like a temporary. But man, holy I got so bored. So if anyone else feels the same way, please feel free to tell me that you feel the same way, because I'm going to start looking at comments. But after about 200 pages of reading about different circular habits and whatever, I'm like, all right, I get that a gambling problem is probably not as bad as killing someone in your sleep, but at the same time, I guess they're on habits. So, that's kind of messed up on both sides. I don't know. Good book, liked it, plot, very accurate, also very good way to start the new year, but, okay, oh man, Rita, you had to put the but right before you had to write a new paragraph, now I have to wait. The book was thought-provoking, insightful, repetitive. Just for me, habits definitely something that we don't take as powerful in our lives as we imagined. Yes, quite enjoyed it, but the whole target section made me suspicious and has given me trust issues. Yeah. Now I'm kind of mad, because I was like, I guess they don't, but now they, I don't know why that brain words didn't happen. That was weird. And I've had coffee and breakfast already, so I don't know what's up. Book really surprised me. I thought it'd be more like self-help, but it wasn't. Love the books. Took so many notes. Good. Second part was super boring. I knew that's where it is. It felt like it kept repeating itself. Like, okay, I get it, but let's move forward. It never moved forward. I think it was trying to instill a habit in our mind about the way habits can build, and using a bunch of different, entryways and a bunch of different stories to kind of design and teach us this. OCD definitely heightened a bit. Like, I was eyeing everything I was doing, and I found ways to correct a few things as a result. I've lost 20 pounds. Wait, you've lost 20 pounds already? That's incredible. See, this book great way to start the year. And I agree. I've even lost a little bit of weight since we started reading this book. I actually didn't get to finish it. Yes, I think it's a good idea. Reading beginning of the year, repeating totally. How to become a better human for the new year. Perfect. I've enjoyed it, even if it's the boring part. Second part was, I feel the same way. Okay, good. Definitely been more aware of things now. This book had an impact, but repetitive. Second part was, oh my god, I know, so long. Dragged. Oh, thank you. Reading the second part during breaks at work, and at some point I got up and said, I prefer working. No, but I also felt like, I didn't do this, but I felt like at some points I could be like, and we're learning about this person. Oh, okay. They had a gambling problem. Wow. Like, I felt like I could just be like, didn't miss a thing. I struggled with it a lot. Yeah, I will say this book was a little more difficult to read. Not in the sense that it was difficult, because I think all of the way in which all of this information was presented was very understandable and very interesting. It really was. I'm going to get back to it again. I just felt like towards the end of it, I was like, okay, I get it. Like, this book could have been 150 pages shorter. You know? But it's okay. Maybe not 150, that's a little rude. Maybe like 50 pages shorter. So I don't want to be rude. I loved the book. I think it was very important. This book will be better on audiobook. You know, Maddie McCall? I thought the same thing. Now, I'm going to be honest here, as someone who really enjoys audiobooks. The audiobook was not great. Why? Because the guy that was doing it, to me, it felt like he was talking about things as if they weren't real. And he constantly used this voice that would make you attempt to understand what was going on. But in fact, his voice was just very annoying. So this is the voice that the audiobook in English has, and I can't stand it. I tried the audiobook. It helped when I was like doing other things. I could be reading it, but I will say, not as easy. Yeah, and now I'm kind of like Target stalking me. Good for you, Bubbly Hasune. Bubbly Bay Hasune. Okay, cool. Appendix is interesting. Yes, the appendix is interesting. And I'm not saying it wasn't interesting. It's not even your company. These companies just give each other our numbers. Know exactly what we're looking for when it comes to... I know, Anna Cat Fernandez. I know. I didn't like the audiobook because it was just, the guy was terrible. And I like audiobooks, as you guys know. Yeah, I don't want to hate on it. Like, I don't like hating on things. It's just I don't want... The last thing I want is to get an Instagram DM from this gentleman here, the guy that read it, and be like, yo, why are you hating on my work? You know, I don't want to deal with that. But I want to tell you, this is our book club, so I feel like I can be honest and be like, yeah, hated it. Listened to most of it audiobook, to be honest, but hated it. At some points I was like, gosh, I feel like I know, I'm going to stop. But let's go back to the actual part of the book. Now that a lot of us can agree that it was a bit repetitive, and a lot of us can agree that the audiobook would have been a little weird. The Polish audiobook was bad too? Oh, nope, not getting dragged back in. Let's start a new habit. After a time when I had free time for the second half, I felt disconnected. Yeah, I know, I'm stopping. My name is Cat House, but yes, the book was super repetitive. I felt it needed the constant catch your eye. Oh, I see, feelings seem to work. What are we reading next? Okay, I haven't had the time to go buy the book yet, but we are reading A Brief History in Time by Stephen Hawking. I'm very excited. I have a feeling it may get a little bit scientific, analytical. Maybe this will be a really interesting read for us. I'm excited. We haven't read anything like that yet. Wait, no. Little Women's next, right? I said Little Women. Sorry, you're right. Little Women is next. I have to go buy it. Sorry. It's Little Women. It's Little Women. Please don't start the next book because you'll be way ahead and you'll be way behind. Little Women. I have to go get it. Anyways, let's jump off of that train and go back to the actual content of this book, which I thought was really interesting. Essentially, I'm just going to skip all the comments. Little Women is next. Essentially, Tessa just texted me. Is it because she's watching? Tessa just texted me and was like, isn't Little Women next? Yes, it is, love. Yes, it is. Okay, so, yeah, I was paranoid that I hadn't bought the other ones yet, so I was like, oh gosh, I just have to announce them quickly. Anyway, the content. Back to the content of this book. No, that was Tessa's copy. I have to get my own copy. I think it's super fascinating that we've pretty much discovered that all of our behavior, both conscious and unconscious, is pretty much structured by the habits we've created. And I think it's fascinating that we can learn to override those habits with new ones that might be more beneficial and eventually not have to work so hard to make those things happen. I love the idea that if someone got up and ran every morning for a month, that habit would eventually become, they would just start doing it. It wouldn't even require any willpower to wake up at God knows what time to work out. I think that's awesome. And I've recognized that habit forming for me at night. I go to the gym before I go to sleep. But it's cool. It's really interesting that we could take a look at a habit and then look at the routine, the cue, and the reward and mess those around just to make things work the way we want them to. I found the bit about how shoppers always turn right when they enter stores. I thought about it, and it's actually true for me. Oh, I want to talk about this, Jordana. There is a Whole Foods here in Chicago that when you walk in, you're forced to turn left. And until reading this part in the book, I never understood why I hated that Whole Foods. And I never understood why I always felt so weird when I walked in and I was forced to turn left. And then I'm in the produce section on the left of the grocery store. And then I feel like then I want to turn right to the right. It's like a weird little U. And I never understood why it made me uncomfortable. And now I do, although I've realized some grocery stores now, like the ones that I grew up with, were always going to the right. Even the Whole Foods in my hometown. It's weird that that section like triggered a bunch of memories. I was like, oh, the Whole Foods, the Publix, and the Winn-Dixie I went to growing up, you entered and you were on the right. Well, the Winn-Dixie, you were on the left. But the Publix and you went to the right. I don't know. I thought that was interesting. Yeah. You sort of did plan a day. Last week was the most productive I've had in years. Really helped my anxiety. Isn't that fascinating how just starting to write things down has helped? What did I start to write down? Oh, I can't wait to do that with like spending and stuff. Like to start analyzing my spending. I started to write down. I know that I'm better on my diet when I start writing down what I eat. I send Nuno that, my food log, and I started to do that again because I'm like, wait, this is actually. Last week I did really well with my diet because I was paying attention in a way. So yeah, I think we've learned a bunch of little tricks to help us instill new habits, and I think that is what my goal with this book was. Yeah. If you believe you can change, if you make it a habit, the change becomes real. Yes. I know habits very well, as though routine is very bad. At that moment it's controlled, but I had to do it myself most of my life. Honestly, this book would have been helpful then. Well, I'm glad we were able to read it now, and I'm sorry I wasn't there for you back then, but we can move forward. I work in a shop, and it's so true, everyone turns right, I've never noticed before. That's awesome. Letting go all repetitions is such a great book. I've learned so much, and today I've started my new routine of habits. I'm proud of myself, even if we'll come back. It's just the beginning. Oh, wow. It's just like you don't even realize why you hate some things. Exactly. Both of our health food stores go left. Yes, like I'm naturally right-handed, but when I go shooting range, I shoot with my left. It's so annoying. You know, I'm left-handed, but because I have like grown up around right-handed people, and a lot of things I do with my right hand that I eat with my right hand. Although now I eat with my left as an adult. Like I can eat both. But I throw a frisbee with my right hand because that's how I was taught. But yeah, sometimes I feel I would feel more. I actually go back and forth, but it's weird. Cool. Alcoholics really interesting. Also fun to read things I'd never think about. It's fascinating. I turned 22 on Saturday, so I decided to create better habits. Perfect. And happy belated birthday. I hope it was I hope it was awesome. My parents are convinced you're a teacher. No, everyone's a teacher. I'm hoping this helps me go a little less cray around chips when I see them now. Yes, because you could want chips, and you know what? You could have the cue, right, where you're like, oh, I want chips. You could have the routine where you get up to go get chips, and the reward is instead of getting chips, you grab grapes or like an apple or something. And eventually you'll start craving apples. Dude, I bought a very cute book that keeps me on track what I spend. So when I'm online shopping and have to write everything down, I feel super guilty. I'm going to go buy books after this thing. After this Rosende Reads meeting, which I'm excited about. So many habits are so natural that we never realize until we think about it. To the readers here, may I take a moment and ask Alberto to give some sort of motivation for the day, because I have a really strict teacher whom I will meet today, and I'm anxious. I need motivation. All right. I find strict teachers at times, if they're being strict for strictness' sake, it's frustrating. But I think other times, strict teachers just have a very clear idea of how they like to run a classroom and what works well. The motivation should be that your desire to learn and the work, although can be motivated by this teacher, if it's positive, it still can be motivated if it's negative. Like, this teacher hopefully can be someone that inspires you, and you can learn that although she may be strict, she can be a fantastic teacher. And with the habits that you can instill from the book we read, it could be awesome. It could always be just as good as you can imagine it being just as bad. It's just easier to imagine the bad things because our brain is better at that, I think. Because it's like a survival mechanism. Whereas the good things, it's like, oh, cool, that went really well. But if you imagine the good things, if you plan for both, plan out what would happen if she was a strict, annoying teacher, you'd still get your work done. But also plan out if she was an amazing teacher and you were really excited. The layout of most shops is basically a scam to get you to spend more if you really pay attention. It is. Yes, I'm left-handed. I do a lot of things right-handed because other people's being right-handed teach me. Exactly. Keep on budget. I know, I'm trying. Okay, yeah, can we talk about how messed up that was? Triforce of Dragons, you're right. The sleepwalk, the guy killed his wife? Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? But to me, it's also like, can you really kill someone in your sleep? Like, out of all the other things I had to worry about, being killed in my sleep, now I have to worry about me killing someone in my sleep? That's awful. Good. Wow, maybe I could do that. Keep like a tally of like how many bottles or something of water you drink a day, and if you drink enough, then you're like, whew. The whole night terrors thing and the morality. One second. Yeah? One sec. Your apron is a shield. Oh, how cool is that about Starbucks? Like, that was a whole thing. You will always be as strong as you want to be. Read this before shift, and it helped me survive the 5-hour-long shift on Sunday. You know, I think of the latte method a lot. Like, after we read it, I was like, listen, acknowledge the problem, take action, thank them, and then explain why it happened. You know? It was one of those weird things. It's like, very interesting. I've never met anyone or known anyone that sleepwalked. Is it sleepwalk or slept-walked? Sleepwalked. That chapter was fascinating. And that's like the cool thing that I recognized this book kind of made you understand. It's like, oh God, like, habits. Okay. Habits are bigger than just an individual. Countries live by habits, and societies have movements have happened because of habits. Sleepwalk. My daughter's sleepwalking. Once in the middle of the night, I woke up to her standing in the dark hall. Damn! Oh my God, that is really scary. Yes, that's one thing. I thought they took a lot of this analytical information and made it very accessible, very relatable, very easy to understand, and very much like one of those things where you're like, oh, that's very cool. When I was little, I was so stressed to be late for school that I woke up in the middle of the night and started to prepare myself by... Oh my gosh, really? The target one made me even paranoid. You know, it just made me aware of... it made me aware of all of the things that I didn't realize companies were doing. You know? I used to sleepwalk and it would be really crazy. Like, I just wouldn't know. And my mom used to freak out. Thanks. It's not mine, but it's a good lamp. It works. I used to sleepwalk when I was younger. One time I wanted to go to the toilet. Instead, I went to the living room, but thankfully my mom was there. Wow. Could you imagine? See, I've never done that. So I don't know anyone that sleepwalks. Oddly enough, maybe no one is that open about it. It's like you said, we don't judge the guy who killed his wife in his sleep because he couldn't control himself, but we judge the gambler who lost the money. Well, because then again, she recognized the habit, but really didn't maybe have the tools or understanding to break it. I do think it's a little messed up that organizations can prey on people like that, though. Like, that was one thing that I was a little unhappy about. I was like, I understand the precedent that you would set if you said companies can't do that. And I liked when the judges were like, we can't say that a company isn't allowed, a casino isn't allowed to try to attract gamblers, especially people who are known gamblers. Like, that's their livelihood. But we can say the individual who has a problem with gambling should take the proper steps to make... I'm like, okay, that makes 100% sense. Is nothing when it's you, but when you saw it, I can't imagine. Sometimes people usually hide. They don't want people to judge them for it. Just thought, yes, unfortunately, that's not what companies seem to do. Yeah, but then again, we can't be mad that a company is trying to make... That's what companies are there for, to... Like, companies generally are there to provide a service or achieve something, and in doing so, in providing their service, they expect some sort of compensation, whether that be monetary or otherwise. So that's like the basic way that they work. Gonna put my sis on blast. This movie Exorcist, she watched until not too far the next day, she up, still asleep, screaming, "Get out, leave," at the top of her lungs. Oh my god. I still haven't seen The Exorcist. I'm reading comments, sorry. But yeah, I think overall I'm very happy we read this book. I think, I know for me it's something I've been talking about, and my mom was the one that recommended it, so thank you. And she's not here, thanks, Mom. Oh my gosh, the whole underground with the fire. I was actually at home listening to the audiobook, and Tessa and I were like, we were constantly amazed at how their whole system, which was kind of teaching everyone to be in their place, was in fact making it one of the most possibly hazardous. And as we saw with this fire that got to an unnecessary height, that it was. Well, it wasn't. They wouldn't listen, because they had these egos about what they did, and like, if you don't do what I do, how can you tell me what to do? I'm like, well, that fire is going to indiscriminately kill anyone. So it doesn't matter if you don't deal with it or not. You're still going to have to deal with it. I don't know. But finding the trace was horrible. How no one would do anything, and it wasn't their job. But that's another thing. Like, we can use that example to analyze the behaviors within our friend groups, within our close relationships, within our own work environments, and say, wow, do we have habits that are more open to this communication and allow us to have a back and forth so that if something does go wrong, we can remedy it quickly enough? Or are the habits of our friendship, whatever, are the habits there to kind of keep people isolated? Like, I think that was a really cool example, unfortunately, the fact that it happened in, like, it was a tragedy, was also, like, the consequences of bad habits. Well, what did you find when you looked up the plane crash on the internet and the underground fire? I didn't look it up. Wow. It almost felt, I agree, it almost felt humorous, like Monty Python, because you're like, wait, really? They didn't, no one once was like, wait, if this goes wrong and we can't talk to this and it's not our jobs to do this, don't we realize that if that person's, like, it's like hearing it from the outside, we all were like, oh my gosh, this is going to be really bad. But on the inside of it, I guess they didn't have the ability to see that. Exactly. It's scary how bad habits can create tragedies. But that can happen within a friend group, and that can, like, I just was analyzing other things. I was like, oh wow, have all of the relationships in my life, have we built good habits? The title of it is The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. Just take a screenshot of the screen real quick. It's not their job to talk to a supervisor, but if something happens, it's their fault if they didn't talk to a supervisor about it. Yeah. Dude, the Rhode Island hospital was atrocious. These are people's lives, and these doctors are being rude. But yes, good habits can create good things too. I agree. Honestly, the title of the book really did teach us the power of habits and how instrumental they are to our entire society, but also how how important they are just for us in our daily lives. We're starting Little Women today, and then we'll move forward from there. When the title says it all. Okay. I think this is going to be a shorter live. I'm thinking we'll probably go for like another 10 minutes, and then we'll probably wrap it up. So let's start with quotes right now. Does anyone have any quotes that we want to read or share? I had a couple of things that I wrote down that I wanted to really make sure I brought up. Problem is I wrote them in the book, and I don't remember what page they were on. Oh, the latte method. I talked about that. Right, let's do it. Let's start with the quotes and the other things. Oh, and the one thing that I think is really cool is how they talked about willpower being a muscle. Like the fact that you can actively work out your willpower and that you have to be aware that it's a muscle because sometimes you're just going to be tired. But otherwise, you can actively build it up. Everything was a reaction and eventually a habit rather than a choice. If you believe you can change, if you make it a habit, the change becomes real. Willpower is a learnable skill, something you can be taught the same way kids can learn to do math and say thank you. You don't have to believe in God, but you do need the capacity to believe that things can and will get better. Belief is easier when it occurs within a community. Nothing anyone says will ever hurt you. You will always be as strong as you want to be. Very important. The real power of habit, the insight that your habits are what you choose them to be. The cookies experiment was really cool too. Once willpower became stronger, it touched everything. So I started working at that, working at something bigger than me, and it's working. Self-discipline has a bigger effect on academic performance than intellectual. Yes, that was a cool quote. When it spoke about the experiment testing kids' willpower on the show, Secret Lives 4-year-olds, they don't have the same thing with cake, and it was super interesting. Made me think of the Linkin Park song, Breaking Habit. Yes. Oh, keystone habits, and then inflection points. Right? The keystone habit is the one habit that they say that if you can change, all of the other habits will kind of fall into line. For me, I think that's working out. The minute I start working out and create a habit to do that, I start eating better. And then because I start eating better, I start spending money better. Because spending money better, then I start, all of those things fall in. And they even showed that in the book with working out, that is a common thing. That once someone starts taking care of nutrition and fitness, everything's. If you dress anew something in old habits, it's easier for the public to accept it. Her character represented one of the isolated high blips on the graph of human nature, offsetting a dozen or so sociopaths. When a habit emerges, the brain stops fully participating in decision-making, which is interesting. Small wins are exactly what they sound like and are a part of how keystone habits create widespread changes. Once you understand that habits can change, you have the freedom and responsibility to remake them. It's like a chain of good habits, in my opinion. It's easy to identify a keystone habit, though. It's not. And that's why it's mentioned a few times, we have to take our own inventory. Trying to be more regular. Exactly. Habits aren't destiny, and they can be rebuilt. Companies aren't families. They're battlefields in a civil war. That sounds miserable, right? The key to victory was creating the right routine. Yes, willpower isn't just a skill. It's a muscle, like muscles in your arms and legs, and it gets tired as it works harder, so there's less power left over for other things. Yes. We must meet hate with love, King told the crowd the night of the bombing. If I am stopped, our work will not stop. For what we are doing is right, what we are doing is just, and God is with us. Yes, habits emerge because the brain is constantly looking for ways to save effort. Once you understand that habits can change, you have the freedom and responsibility to remake them. So I think it's cool, because we can all say, you know what, for the next month, we're going to be remaking habits. It might be hard work. At times you might lose willpower, but as long as we focus on remaking habits just for the next month, for the next 5 years, we could be set and not have to, it won't be as hard. And the cool thing is, it'll be easier to keep those habits in place after we've put them in place. It kind of blows my mind. Yeah, and it all starts from a craving. You know how, you have to redirect the path, the power to swim. Yes, changing the world one habit at a time. Yeah, you know what? All right, let's wrap up this book. I am very happy for what I've learned reading it. I think I've already started kind of putting it in place, which is cool. Willpower, though. Thank you, the Kinder. Willpower is the single most important keystone habit for individual success. I appreciate that. And I'm glad we learned that. Don't have the book with me, guys. But, yeah, Rosende reads is a good habit. Thank you. So overall, I think we enjoyed this book. Did we find it a little bit repetitive? Yes. But towards the end. But generally, I think this is one of the most interesting books we've read in the sense that it's so different, but extremely applicable, and almost immediately I felt that satisfaction of discovering habits and changing and putting them in place. And yes, we have to thank my mom for this amazing suggestion. So now we're going to move forward. Is that cool? 7 out of 10. Yeah, 7.5. I agree with that. So the next book we'll be reading is Little Women. One second. So, Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. We will be reading... I haven't seen the movie yet because I'm waiting for the book. So I will post either today or tomorrow how far we will read, but start reading and plan to have a live on Sunday. That's pretty much it. We will discuss all of which March sister is the best. I'm walking 4 miles, a habit I developed after reading this book. There it goes, from my mom herself, from Martha Rosende, saying she's walking her 4 miles, and it's a habit that she's developed every day from reading the book. She decided she was going to start walking. And you've been very consistent, Mom. Very cool, right? 4 miles, too. That's pretty far. So, thank you everyone for joining for The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. Up there on the shelf of one of, I think, our most important books, because awesome to start the year. I'm just very happy. I also should mention for anyone in the UK, it's published in 2 halves. Little Women and Good Wives. So everyone in the UK, I'll take notes of that. But, yeah, so the next book, Little Women, Louisa May Alcott. Everyone start reading, and I will post later about how far we're going to read. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining our, what number now? 21? 21st book, I believe. And remember, continue to be curious, continue questioning, continue exploring, continue learning, continue growing, and continue to be positive forces of change in your environment. The world needs it now more than ever. I don't know if anyone is a Super Bowl fan here, but congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. It's pretty cool. I hope your week was great. I hope your week is going to be great. We will speak on Sunday. This is 23? Wow! That's pretty sick, because that means in True Blood is 25. In Cold Blood, I mean. That's pretty cool. All right. Oh, no, wow. Little Women is the 24th, which means Brief History in Time is 25th. That's interesting. Anyway. All right. Everyone, have a great week. I will speak to you on Sunday and expect to post. Also, I have to talk to Tessa, but we're going to kind of be revamping Rosende Reads. So if you... Tessa had a lot of really cool ideas, and I was like, hell yeah, let's do that. So we will probably review all of the books that we've read so far, and there might be a few posts that you guys can look and check out. So just be ready. All right. I will see you guys soon. Have a great week, and until next time.